What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome back to another episode of How to Get Diamond in Call of Duty Black Ops 3. In this series I go over different ways that I've learned to make it easier to get diamond on each of the weapon classes. Today we're going to be going over the light machine guns. So just a quick note before we get specifically into light machine guns. I did mention it on my first episode, but I wanted to kind of reiterate. If your goal is to get dark matter, you're going to need diamond on each of the weapon classes. So if you're doing light machine guns, it wouldn't be a bad idea to also be working on pistols at the same time. Light machine guns you could use on smaller maps. There's definitely ways to do it, and I'll go over them. But it would be easier to use, say, a pistol in hardcore mode. And that's another thing. From here on out, I'm going to be really recommending hardcore mode. We have the pistols, ARs, SMGs, LMGs to go. And all these are very hardcore specific tips because it is way easier to do in hardcore. So we'll start with playstyle. Now, as I mentioned before, you can run and gun with LMGs. It is possible, definitely with the BRM and the Dingo, slightly easier than with the other two. But where you're going to find your most success is in head glitches. Now, I never recommend playing like this because it's very annoying, but you're at a disadvantage if you have a playstyle like mine where you run and gun. So take advantage of head glitches, find cover, take control of choke points, high traffic areas, sit in that head glitch and go for headshots. And if you do this, you will have success with LMGs. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but you'll actually have some good games. And although this isn't necessarily a tip for getting dark matter or for getting diamond, but having good games is important because this process can get frustrating, so sometimes having a good game here and there will help you kind of stay motivated towards your track to diamond. So I'm going to get into class setup a little bit here. The BRM, the 48 Dredge, and the Dingo are all similar. The Gorgon's a little bit different, so I'll start with the first three. On something like the BRM, I always like quick draw just because aim down sight time is very slow. However, if you're going to be trying to stay in head glitches, it's not that important because you're already going to be aiming down sight, so that's kind of optional. Another thing with perk, I always use fast hands. But if you're going to be using my playstyle that I recommend, you probably don't need it because you're not going to be running around and pulling up your gun real fast. You're going to be kind of playing it slow and aiming down sight a lot. So those two are optional. You can switch those out, but if you're very comfortable with it, you can keep it on. But grip is important because you're going for headshots. You want this to be as accurate as possible. Stock is nice. It's not huge on LMGs, I don't think, but you're going to be aiming down sight constantly. So it will help you a little bit. One thing I want to mention, for all hardcore game modes, all weapons, I always run laser sight. It is huge. I really highly recommend, I can't stress it enough, try throwing laser sight on anything in hardcore. Like, if you were allowed to put them on snipers and you told me, I wouldn't say you were crazy for doing it because it's that important in hardcore. You will be hip firing if you're going to be running around because you don't have a chance a lot of times to aim down sight if you're running and gunning. So if you're planning on running and gunning, I highly recommend running laser sight on anything. So two more things on the perks. You might want to consider running Ghost. It won't work if you're standing still. You have to be moving around, but Ghost will keep you off the radar, and you might be saying, well, in hardcore there is no radar. That's true, but people use UAVs like crazy. Also, awareness is so overpowered in this game. If you haven't tried awareness, this isn't just a tip for light machine guns, just in general. If you haven't tried awareness, try it. It is so overpowered if you have headphones. So finally, I'm going to go over the Gorgon a little bit. Now, in core game modes, you might get killed by the Gorgon quite often. You think it's a good gun. I found this to be the most difficult to get the challenges done with because the fire rate is so slow. In hardcore game modes, it takes one bullet to kill, and if you don't hit that first shot, that fire rate, that slow fire rate will get you killed quite often. So you might switch to core game modes here. I didn't. I stuck to hardcore. It's still easier in my opinion, but the Gorgon is the most difficult to do. So for attachments, I definitely recommend rapid fire. It doesn't help a ton, but it will help enough to kind of squeak you by and get you through these challenges because it is tough. Laser sight I still recommend because it's just that good. So since I'm going to be recommending hardcore game modes so much, let me go over score streaks really quickly. I was running very high score streaks for a while in hardcore until I realized I'm playing out of my comfort zone with LMGs, with pistols. I'm not getting the mothership, you know, it's not happening very often, it's not worth it to me, so I recommend running lower score streaks in hardcore. Something like UAV, that minimap's going to be huge in hardcore. Counter UAV, people use UAV almost constantly, so the counter UAV will come in handy. And something like the Guardian that's not very popular in core game modes can do quite a bit of damage and save you a lot in hardcore. So just really quickly wanted to go over that. Don't go for the high score streaks until you get the hang of hardcore. I hope these tips help you, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.